Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Leppy Duels. I'm your host, Jacob Arvidson, and we're excited to have you with us this week. This week, we're once again presented by Jarvie Media, and if it's your first time joining us, please take a quick second down below to like and subscribe to the channel. It's support from people like you that continue to push us forward. Thank you. Here's how the show works. In a moment, you will meet our 4 distinguished guests. Each of those guests will go 1v1 versus the other 3 contestants. Within each duel, each contestant will have 1 minute to deliver their points on the assigned debate topic, along with an additional 20 seconds to respond to their opponent's comments. After that, I, as the host, will determine a winner of each duel, and the first one to fill up their scoring bar first wins the episode. Simple enough. Let's meet this week's guest. First up, he's from Kentucky. He's sponsored by Team DGA, and this year he's riding a turtle. Give it up for Trevor Harbolt. Next up, hailing all the way from Texas, where he's a renowned tournament director and outstanding member of the disc golf community. Give it up for Matt Stillwagon. Third, from Grand Rapids, Michigan, he's the brand manager at Great Lakes Disc and the owner at Wolfpack Discs, Mr. Brian Papa Wolf Frawley. And finally, rounding out the cast this week, joining us from the car rental pickup line, the brand manager at Latitude 64, Mr. Seth Fendley. Thanks for joining us, guys. Excited to have you all on the show this week. Let's get this thing rolling. Trevor and Matt, you'll be up first. Trevor, you will be first. The FPO field has Paige Pierce, Katrina Allen, and Kristen Tatar at the top. What's more important? Those 3 vying for first place every week, parity within the field itself, or the field size of FPO in general for each tournament? Trevor, take it away.
All right. I mean, those are 3 pretty important things to me in all the FPO stats here, right? Like, all 3 things are super important, but what I think the most important out of this category is the size of the FPO field. I'd say a few years ago on the Pro Tour, I mean, we had 15 to 20 females every weekend, and some of them were just locals. You only had a couple that were touring all the time. But right now, it seems as there's like 48 consistent players in the FPO field every single weekend. Money's being, thrown at them a lot more than what they're used to. And there's just a lot of great new players coming out of the woodwork, man, with the FPO. Like, just recently, we just saw Sai Andonda just come out and take a win down in Texas State. It was pretty awesome and to see. So I just think the size of the field, the newer players coming in and everything is a really important piece of the puzzle for the Disc Golf Pro Tour and the female game in general, just seeing it grow and grow and grow. From when I was a kid until now, the FPO side of it is just unbelievable to me. So I think the size of the field is the most important thing to me, personally. I don't know what Matt's going to think, but
I think it's about the parity. That's what it's really about. Look, disc golf has got to be about more than just the game itself. It's about the personalities within the game. And we need to do a better job of highlighting a lot of these personalities. I didn't know squat about Sai until this weekend, but she's awful cool. I mean, yeah, size of the field is definitely great. I mean, Trevor and I have been around so long, we remember when all tournaments were nothing but a gigantic sausage fest. But at the end of the day, we definitely need to have more parity out there, because the more of these men and women that get recognized and that climb to the top, the bigger the purses are going to get, the more competitive it's going to get, and the more interested people are going to be in these people as individuals, not just how far they throw or how far under par they are.
All right, Trevor, why is Matt's take not as good as yours?
Well, like I said in the beginning, I think that all 3 are important right now, but being the most important for me, I think, is just the growth of the game right now. What we've seen in the last 5 years, not just on the men's side, but on the female side, just continuing to grow and continue to get more people. So we do have all these personalities, so the parity can be there. So I think if we don't have the size of field, then we don't have the parity. So I really think that the size is a big deal right now for the FPO. Maybe they can even get it bigger to where they can have maybe a separate size tour, so.
All right, Matt, why is parity more important than the FPO field size?
FPO field size is great, but the parity and the ability for some of these people to win is more important because it keeps the sport more interesting. Whenever Paige was dominating, the knock on her was never about how good she was. It was about how good was the field that she beat. And that was a consistent problem. So size of the field is great, but even the PDGA disagrees with that. Not that I agree with them, but they disagree with that because otherwise, why would they bother to put ratings caps on signups for divisions like any of the pro divisions?
I like it. That's an interesting point there that you finished with, Matt. Trevor, I like where you went with the field size, and I like that you took the opportunity to take a small shot at Matt's statement there, saying parity can't happen if the field size isn't big enough, because we're just going to be looking at the same people at the top every time. So for that reason, I am going to give Trevor the win in duel number 1. Sends us to duel number 2. Brian and Seth. Brian, you are up first. You guys are going to be debating what should be the standard for adding a new course that we haven't seen on the Pro Tour before to the Pro Tour. Take it away.
So this is a really loaded question with a lot of different tangents that Seth and I can take it down. Specifically, though, I worry about the Disc Golf Pro Tour, so I'm going to take like the idea of majors and other things out of this. And how should a course get onto the Disc Golf Pro Tour is how I read this question. For me personally, I definitely think an A-tier minimally should be ran at this event prior to it being able to apply for a Silver Series, and then it must run as a Silver Series before it should be able to apply for a full tour stop. And there should be some sort of way that players can also chip in, vote, communicate if a tour stop isn't worth it. So maybe that it can go down, almost English football style relegation, and move maybe the lowest event down into the Silver Series and maybe pull up some of those top A tiers. But that was my suggestion.
All right, I like it. Seth, where are you going to go with this?
Yeah, so I think that there's a few different ways to look at it. I would agree with Brian that some sort of event has to be ran first, but I think that it's more than just the event, right? You also have to look at the course itself. You have to look at who's running the event, but more importantly, you have to look at the location of the event. And that's one of the things that the Pro Tour is taking into heavy consideration as they move forward is not so much the longevity of an event. I'm sitting here in Kansas City, and as much as I would love to see the Kansas City wide open on the tour, they're going through that process, actually. You know, they've been a long-standing event. They're going to be a silver event this year, and then they're potentially going to make it as an elite series, but they may not. And so I think that there is a step process there. There is also a process in place where the players are taking in and putting in feedback after every event as to where events are going to go. There's a survey sent to them every week. So I think that there are things in place, and I think that there's a process to follow.
All right, Brian, why is your emphasis on A-tier to Silver Series to Elite Series the important thing to take away from the idea here?
I think that our sport is so new and our tour is so new still in the size and history of sports. This is our opportunity to act fast and quick because we can still make mistakes, I think, and recover. Having something more concrete where besides just players, adding DGN subscribers, adding investors that maybe help pay for Disc Golf Network and things like that, they should get a vote. Major manufacturers should get a vote on what things should be pulled up and what things should be pulled down. I think the fans are a huge aspect of this, and those ones that vote for, you know, that high-level A tier to move up should help the community that way.
Seth, you're making a face at Brian. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go all in on location. At the end of the day, like, the fans can say what they want, but there's reasons why we're not at the Memorial anymore. And the fans would love, some fans, I should say, would love for us to be there. But the reality is that as the tour is growing, location is what matters. I think the Portland Open is a great example of this. It was not anything before it was an elite Pro Tour event, and it's there to stay. And that's because of the location. It's also because of the community, and ultimately the tour has built courses around it to make it be a successful event.
All right, so you guys do have two completely different sides here. Brian's saying, hey, we got to establish the event and work it up. Seth, you're saying, hey, let's find the location, build the event around that location. So two completely different sides here. To be honest, this one's tough for me because though I do agree with Brian that we should be looking to slowly move events up and build the events that people like to see, I do see Seth's side as well, and I think the location and getting people there is at this point a little bit more important. So I'm going to give Seth the win here in duel number 2. Sends us to duel number 3. Matt, you're going to be up first, taking on Brian once again, and you guys are debating, in the current landscape, are we still, or should we still, at this point, be talking about Ricky and Eagle in the conversation for best in the world? Matt?
I think now more than ever, and probably what is the best thing about the Pro Tour is that the argument of parity, these additional people that are winning now, really calls into question who is going to be the best in the world. Now, those guys are consummate, contenders for it. I'd say Ricky more so than Eagle. But at the same token, it's kind of tough to say because all these tour stops that you're seeing, the tour itself is becoming more of a grind. There's more demand. There's more travel. There's more this. There's more that. And as a direct result, it's about the ebb and the flow. It's becoming more like a baseball season than it is a football season, if you will. So it's more than just, a handful of events that matter. So if you get a player that actually targets the right kinds of courses that set up good for their game, they could go on a tear and make massive gains on tour and everything. Meanwhile, somebody that plays fewer events but plays the larger ones that may be a consummate is going to stand a good chance of winning those as well. So I'm for parity over just these guys being tops in the world. Anybody could vie for it right now.
Brian?
In the current pro landscape, are Ricky and Eagle still legit contenders? I think that answer is an outstanding yes. When we look at what is a top contender, we look at people that can close, people that can win, people that win majors. There are a lot of great players. There's 10 plus players rated 1040 or higher signed up for the next major. And two of those people are the people that we're questioning right now. Eagle got a major last year. Ricky's always in a good fight. Yes, they're currently injured, but I think if Worlds was next week, we'd see both of them playing. I don't think they're taking the I have to win right now mentality. They are looking at the bigger picture. We will see them in a couple of weeks at Champions Cup. I expect them both to perform well, and I look forward to both of them bringing more energy and excitement back to our sport when they win because their personalities do that, and it's good for the game.
All right, so Brian is saying absolutely yes. They're just biding their time, healing up, and they'll be ready to strike when it counts. Matt, you kind of went with parity. You said yes, they're still contenders, but you kind of said there's a lot of contenders. So separate yourself in that regard if you can, Matt.
Well, if we look at the current landscape right now, you got to ask yourself, is Heimberg about to make that jump? Another good finish this weekend on another Elite Series event. He's been, first, third? He's volleying back and forth, making it work. It's interesting to me on the pro landscape, I remember back when Worlds was 7 rounds where you duked it out over 5 days and it was about grinding out the season. And that to me should play as much to best in the world than just 1 or 2 events and making those be the deciding factor. So in that particular instance, I say over the long haul, I think people like a Heimberg can do better and could very well take that slot, even if it's just for the reasons of Ricky being hurt or Eagle being hurt for a period of time. Nobody knows how they come back from an injury. Who knows? Sure, they might be contenders, but are they the best in the world this year? I don't think so.
All right, Brian, you said yes. Matt said no. Back up yes.
Well, again, I'll go off current ratings. They would argue that they're contenders to be really good. Let's see. Eagle won a major last year. Ricky's always in contention. These are great points that I've already brought up for you. I think that the question laid out was, are they current contenders to be best in the world? I don't think I could find 10 more players that I would argue over these two. So if you're arguing 10 people, your top 2 probably in them? I think so.
All right. Brian, I like that you had the stats to back it up. Matt, I do like how you brought in Calvin Heimberg. I think that's important. I think when we talk about best in the world, it's important to put names in front of us versus just, hey, they're rated here because of what they've done over the last year. In the current landscape, Matt, you said, no, they're not contenders. They're hurt right now, and Calvin's been playing really well. The other one that comes to mind for me is Gannon Burr, and then there's obviously always Paul McBeth. So are they the best in the world right now? I think Matt answered the question the best, saying no and giving us reasons why. So I'm going to give Matt the win here in this duel. Sends us to the next duel, Seth and Trevor. Seth, you are up first. The DGPT tour schedule, is it good right now? Does it need a change? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think that there are some changes that need to take place. The first is where the tour starts. And I think that what we're going to see is a very high likelihood that the tour is not going to start out west, because it doesn't make sense to go all the way out west, come back east, then go all the way back out west just to come back east again. And so I would not be surprised if we saw the tour start actually in a place that I'm quite familiar with, Florida. And one of those things that we can take away from this is the most recent acquisition by someone by the name of Paul McBeth, and of course called Throw Down the Mountain or the Grand Canyon. I think that we're going to see with Paul making moves in Florida, that being a really high likelihood as a place for the tour to start. The other thing that I would like to see the tour add is more breaks in the schedule. I think Matt mentioned it earlier. The tour is a grind right now, and it's not helping the players to be competitively successful by having them play week after week.
All right, Trevor.
First of all, it is not fair that you know all this inside information and I do not. So therefore, I give you negative points on this debate at the moment. So what I'm going to say is, as a player, the tour should never start in Las Vegas, and it should never go back out east and come all the way back out west, just to go all the way back out east for us to finish in the northeast to come all the way back down south. I love the tour and I love where we stop. I love all the places we go. I love all this, but I think that we should start in a central location so people from the West Coast, people from the East Coast could all meet up in a central spot. Say Texas, say DDO, actually nobody wants to go there. Say a central located spot so where everybody can meet in the middle, and then we go out east and then come back west. There's no reason to start where we were and then come all the way out east and go back. It just sucks. It sucks for driving. Your back gets hurt. We're athletes. We got to save ourselves. We got to relax. We got to chill. We don't get time to do that all season long, really. So I definitely think there needs to be some changes on the tour. Personally, and as a fan, I think Florida would be a great spot to start, as you see Throw Down the Mountain and all those places, Tallahassee, Jacksonville. But a central located spot, maybe like a Texas where they kind of are going into the swing, I think would be a pretty good starting spot.
All right, so you both said yes. You both attacked the beginning of the tour to kind of set the tone to spread around the country from there. Trevor, you said Central. Seth, you said Florida. Separate yourselves there. Why are the two spots that you guys suggested better than the other? Seth?
Yeah, so the thing about Florida is that it's both a blessing and a curse. To get down to Central Florida is really out of the way, and so it only makes sense to start there. It doesn't make sense to try to get there in the middle of the year. It doesn't make sense to even end there, really. The other side to this is Trevor's argument, and to be completely frank, playing disc golf in Texas at the beginning of February, beginning of March is not that fun. And we run into it every year with the possibility of some sort of weather. And, we've just gotten sort of lucky that we haven't had to cancel more rounds than we have. And we have had to cancel rounds in Texas.
Trevor, he took a shot at you there. Why is Central United States, Texas area better than Florida for starting?
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's better than Florida. I never said that. I said logistically, geography is probably a better spot for everybody on the West Coast and everybody on the East Coast to meet in the middle. I do like the Florida swing, right? But it's not the best part to start. It's not. Like, you can't get people like all these West Coast people that don't have the money to fly all the way to Florida. They got to drive all the way from California to Florida. Why don't we just meet halfway? And I think it's a better spot when we already have 3 or 4 spots in the Texas tour to start in Texas and then move to Florida. It's not that bad of a drive to go down south, get you a little Silver Series at the City of Mobile, Alabama Championships, and then hit right into the Tallahassee. Then you go down to Central by Orlando, then you go up to Jacksonville, and then guess what? Right out of Jacksonville is like a 3-hour drive to Augusta. You're at your Champions Cup. The swing would work way better than going from Florida to Texas back to Florida or Georgia. So I'm sorry, you're wrong. I know you work for the Pro Tour, but you're wrong. We don't need to start in Florida.
All right, I like that you're taking shots at each other. That's fun. I do think Seth's point about weather is very important. Wherever you want to start. Trevor, you did make it make sense. Seth talked about being down in Central Florida. The only way it makes sense is to come out of there. You don't really want to go down there. But Trevor, you did make a good point about how you can weave from Texas down into Florida. I think that's important. But I think the weather is huge. And Seth makes a great point about weather in Texas in February. It has a high potential to not work out. So for that reason, Seth, I am going to give you the win here in this duel. Trevor, you're going to stay on the battlefield. You're taking on Brian, and you are first. Is disc golf too friendly? Go for it.
I like how the question says everybody's friends. I'm not friends with every single disc golfer on the planet, and I don't think it's that friendly, honestly. There might not be the rivalries you see on TV like LeBron James and Kevin Durant or Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. You don't see that in disc golf as much. We know of one rivalry, and I think that's because they're at the top of the game in Ricky Wysocki and Paul, or Katrina and Paige. It's just the 2 top players. But on the course, it's not as friendly as you think. I don't know. It's just not. I think we need a little bit of more like rivalries and stuff, but I don't think that people see what we see as players. And it's also disc golf, man. We're all a bunch of hippies and friends and have a good time. While I'm not friends with everybody, I'm still cordial to everybody. We try to be a good human. We try to pick up trash while we're in the woods. We're playing through the woods and having a good time. It's hippies. So I don't think the nature of the beast is our game is to be a super competitive, like rivalry-driven sport. I think we're having fun with our friends and our good people that are on the cards and just playing Frisbee golf. Now, while we're a pros and we have all these money on the line and all this, I just don't think rivalries in our sport is just like golf. There's not a lot of rivalries in the sport of golf. So,
Brian, what's your take here?
I think we have a ton of rivalries in the sport. I just think you thought a little bit too small there, Trevor. We have giant rivalries. We have Innova versus Discraft. We have the PDGA versus the gentleman that says he's never playing a sanctioned tournament again because he can't drink a beer or whatnot. We have rivalries between Joe Mez and Gatekeeper or the next live up-and-coming post-production group. There are plenty of rivalries, but the number one rivalry we have is the player versus the rules, and they're not digging in deep enough. I wish we heard players call each other out more when they did rules that were wrong. That would help create more drama. That would give us a little bit more to talk about on this show and, in the shop every day. But there are plenty of rivalries. Look back at the history of the Rock versus Buzz events on disc golf scene. We have lots and lots of opportunities for even more rivalries that create more drama and more fun.
All right, so a little bit of differentiation there. Trevor, why do you deserve to win this duel over Brian?
Because Brian's wrong, and he's always wrong, and you always get him to win. That's what it is. Look, I understand your rivalry points, right? Innova, Discraft, all this. But really, when it comes down to it, he's talking about competitive rivalries in the sport of disc golf. And I know that every single fan out there wants to see a LeBron James type rivalry versus Michael Jordan. And we have that kind of with Macbeth versus the GOAT and Ken Climo and all these, whatever. But really, when it comes down to it, we're a hippie sport. We don't need all these rivalries. Like you said, we have enough that we have, right? But the biggest rivalry right now in the disc golf sport is Trevor Harbolt versus Brian Frawley. And that's where it stops.
All right, Brian, is disc golf too friendly? Answer the question for me.
Trevor is so intense that he wants to win this that he forgets that he has a rivalry in his own argument against me. He also walks into the store every time he visits and talks about the rivalry between the Zone and the Breaker and how much better it is. So the man lives and breathes rivalries, trust me. He talks about how great Kentucky basketball is versus everything else. So the man is trying to lie and get the point. Rivalries are great. We need more. We need more.
There's no rivalries with greatness on the line in Kentucky basketball, bro.
All right, I'm going to ask you guys each a follow-up question here. You get one word answer. Trevor, is disc golf too friendly?
Yes.
All right, Brian.
Yes. We need to call each other out.
So with that said, I am giving Brian the point. He spoke to a much better situation about disc golf being too friendly. So Brian's going to win this duel. Sends us to our final duel. Matt, you're the only one stopping Seth from winning this episode. So no pressure to you. What's the correct found disc etiquette? Matt, you're up first.
This question is wrong. There is no etiquette. This is where I'm going with this. This is the question I was looking forward to. Let me look at that clock. Yeah, I got 55 seconds. Let me tell you something. I have played a significant portion of my career down in the Houston, Texas area, where your name can be on your disc and some jamoke is going to jump into a goddamn pond. And what is he going to do? He's going to end up giving you this long speech about how he braved this Titanic level the undertow and these turtles and snakes, and he wants $5 for your disc when everybody else starts playing Judge Judy and giving their legal interpretation of a disc left behind and everything. Meanwhile, when I'm up in Maine, I go around and I got mailboxes on trees where I'm supposed to just drop somebody's disc that I found, whether I contact them or not. There's no etiquette about this. Go down to Florida. Florida has an entire group of people called the Squids. Some of them are authorized. Some of them are not authorized. Who knows what the damn etiquette is? I've seen more versions of etiquette. Okay, let me tell you the one thing I know about etiquette in disc golf. 3/4 of disc golfers can't even spell the word etiquette.
Well said, Matt. Seth, where are you going with this?
Oh man. So I thought that my take was gonna be harsh, but I'm a little bit more middle of the ground here compared to Matt. If you don't put your name on your disc, you're not getting it back. Like, I'm sorry. To all the pros at Waco in 2020, thank you for helping me build a bag while I had 2 days of pandemic disc golf in Waco, Texas, because you didn't get your disc back, and I still have them. If you put your name and number on a disc, maybe someone who's been around for 10 to 15, 20 years is going to call you and offer you your disc back. But, that's probably as far as it goes. Like, I think that Matt has some good points. He's a little extreme in the way that he's communicating them. But at the end of the day, if you put your name and number on there, maybe you're going to get a call back. But if you don't put your name and number on there, you shouldn't expect it back.
All right, Matt, is Seth being too friendly with this? I know you took a hardline stance here, so what do you got?
Seth is being too friendly with this. I'll make this real simple for you. I can show you a million Facebook posts about people who talk about their name, their phone number, their favorite color, their girlfriend's underwear color, whatever they mark their damn disc with that they think they should have gotten a call back on, and they don't get a call. Hell, I've even seen a teenager who ransacks these discs and holds them hostage and threatens to burn them. I've seen people wait outside a Walmart trying to find the teenager with a duffel bag full of discs, no underwear on, and drenched head to toe because he jumped into the local pond and he's selling discs like they're Girl Scout cookies out front. There's no etiquette here.
Seth, why should you win this duel over Matt, who's going hard?
For the sanctity of the sport and the spirit of the game, I would like to hold out hope that there is some semblance of etiquette. But I do think that at the end of the day, if you don't have your name in your disc, don't expect it back. If you have your name in your disc, for the spirit of the game, I hope that you get it back. But don't expect people to jump through hoops to get it back to you. That's just the way that it is.
All right. Seth, I like your point about the name thing. Yeah, at the end of the day, if you don't have your name on it, you're probably not getting it back. But I think as far as hardline stance and backing up his points, he's very adamant on it. That would be Matt. Matt, I'm going to give you the win here. I think you deserve a tiebreaker against Seth. So 2 points for both of you guys. Let's head into a tiebreaker. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this one. We're talking about disc golf power couples. Who's the best power couple in disc golf? Take this wherever you want. Seth, you are up first on this one.
Yeah, this is an easy answer. It's Kristen and Silver. And there's really no debate on it. They're the only two. I love that I've got notes. This is great. They're the only two pros in disc golf that are a couple that are sponsored by Nike. Not only are they sponsored by Nike, but they are models for some sporting goods stores over in Estonia. And the reason why I make that argument is because when you think of a power couple, you're not just thinking about competitive-wise, though competitively, Kristen is the reigning world champion in FPO, and Silver is one of the better European players on the European tour. So you've got that there, but you're thinking about what they're doing successfully off the course as well. Kristen and Silver have that in the bag. They're out there repping. And if you want to, Jacob, insert an image of Silver picking up Kristen from the airport in shirts of memes made of her to see the hilarity that they have going on as a couple.
All right. Interesting take there, Seth. Maybe slightly biased toward Latitude, but we'll take it. Matt, where are you going with this?
Okay. This is kind of a weird question, to be honest with you, because I really don't think there is an absolute power couple. I mean, I could go back and say, Dawson and Jenkins is the original power couple, and look at what they've transitioned to. I mean, if you're going on performance, okay, that's one thing. But yeah, as much as I like Dawson and Jenkins, and I really think that is, I mean, if you think about it, that's almost the continuation of a disc golf royalty family. I mean, she gets ready to have a little one. I mean, now you got, it started with the whole Jenkins family, and then you got the Doss family that comes into it, and now that's getting ready to expand. I'd give equal recognition to an up-and-coming power couple. I honestly think Mandahanu and Ford are going to be a good little couple as well. They're building up their brand. They're doing some different things. But if we're going to just go on true power couple, you got to go back to the OG, and I'm going to say it's Dawson Jenkins all the way.
All right, so logistically speaking, you guys are taking similar angles, just different couples. So, Seth, why is the Silver and Kristen duo a better power couple than Valerie and Nate?
Yeah, so I think that the takeaway here is sort of the history yet to be built. And that's a hard thing to make a decision on. But at the end of the day, Kristen and Silver are still very young in their careers. The benefit that Matt has of drawing from Nate and Val is that they have longevity in the sport, right? We've seen them both as competitors and now commentators. And so if you want to take someone who's sort of tailing out, or to Matt's point, potentially may have, the next great star in their child, or potentially may leave disc golf altogether, right? Like that could happen too. You could go with them, or you could take people who are competitively currently still in the game with Silver and Kristen.
All right, Matt, bring it home. Why is it Val and Nate?
I'll make it real simple because he already answered it for me. The truth of the matter is it is their longevity. I said in the beginning on my original topic that it's about the people and the stories. That's what's going to have to carry the Pro Tour. It can't just be the play. Right now, I agree. His couple is definitely, they're an up and coming, and they're young in their career. But if I drop Val and Nate into any place, even just to show up and be there at the tournament, that's a draw. That's a draw, and they're doing things beyond the sport. They took what they did with the sport. They've got their brewery. They've got the commentating. They're doing so many things that are, we talk about this vague concept of growing the sport. They're still growing the sport. They're just supporting in different avenues, using that longevity, using that greatness, and that to me makes them a power couple because they have stood the test of time thus far and continue to achieve greatness around the sport of disc golf, even if it's not directly on the field.
All right, Matt, I like your point. Seth, I do think he he summed it up well at the beginning of his rebuttal. He said you kind of gave it to him, and I was thinking the same thing before he said it. I think the longevity does speak to the multi-tiered ability of them being a power couple. So for that reason, I am going to give Matt the win here in his first ever appearance on Leppy Duels. Congrats to you, Matt. You've got 1 to 2 minutes. Floor is yours. What do you got for us?
Look, I own a disc golf company in Houston, all right, called Stillwagon. Okay, we run a lot of tournaments, and one of the things, I mean, look, I've run A tiers, I've run a bunch of tournaments over the last dozen years. I am a huge proponent of the concept that we are far beyond the time where we need to separate and have an ADGA, an amateur disc golf tour, alongside the PDGA. They should be separate entities that work cohesively. The relationship between the ADGA and the PDGA should mirror a similar relationship that the USGA has with the PGA. I'm very, very big on this for several reasons. Tournaments fill up at a huge rate of speed now. If you go ahead and cater to both fields, you're actually doing both fields a disservice by curbing the amount of the people that can play in those events, that should be playing in those events. It also makes it so that the AMs don't have this feeling anymore that they are not catered to like the pros. They both have valid points, but in my opinion, at the end of the day, it's the AMs that drive the sport. The pros play because of the AMs and their love for the sport and the people that the pros are. So at the end of the day, I think it's high time that the PDGA not rely on just a sole number made up of amateurs and pros. Let's have an ADGA that starts to act like a qualifying school to further legitimize the Pro Tour and make sure that the right people are on the Pro Tour. Not just the guy that decided he was going to sign up at the last minute, there was one open spot, and he's rated 700.
I like it, Matt. Nice take. I like the topic. Amateur Disc Golf Association. I love it. So congrats again to you, Matt, for winning on your first appearance on the show. Obviously, big thank you to Trevor, Brian, and Seth for joining us as well. Thanks to all 4 of you for being here. Great episode. Hope you guys all at home enjoyed it as well. If you haven't done it yet, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all your support. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week for episode 9.